One of the most intriguing aspects of Dark Souls is its transcendence, the art of exceeding one's limitations. Somehow, the series of games has managed to profoundly influence the lives of its dedicated players. Those changes might manifest in anything from epiphanies to overcoming depression or addictions. It's surprisingly deeper than the first look at it could hint. The reason why that is lies in a secret, a silver lining the game goes by, and it's quite the opposite of the popular consensus. It was through my ever-evolving relationship with Dark Souls 3 that I realized the game might not be what people think it is. It's certainly not about simply getting good. I know, but hold up. Give a man a second. You see, Dark Souls is a game that just doesn't give a and between the lines, it pretty much tells you that you shouldn't either. It throws many curveballs, making you believe it's about learning from mistakes. This is only partially true, and by now a very tired thesis. It would be right only if the game was designed to at least prepare you for what you're about to face. By lacking a gradual learning curve, it defies conventional game design tropes. Minutes into the game, you're romped and stomped with little mercy. That's why it's wrong to assume it's purely about learning to fail and punishing your mistakes. In practice, Dark Souls teaches you little, if anything. It low-key expects you to accept that it's dead set against you. It is even more apparent when trying to complete the game as a newbie. But there is a difference between the game being punishing and unfair. Here, you're primed to embrace the latter, which is surprisingly refreshing. It's not punishing, because punishment implies player fault. And here I'd be hard-pressed to say that the gacha moments are meant to be taken as your fault. Like old platformer games, it wants you to lose, hence why sometimes the only way forward is through approaching the game with overt caution. It feels like being a GI in a Vietnamese jungle, where every step might be your last, courtesy of some specialized cute device. The aim of this video is not to lambast DS3 for its unfairness, because I do believe that as a player, you're not on the even playing field as some NPCs. And you have to make do with your lesser stats. Non-instant reaction time, aka not input reading, but with use of human cleverness or ingenuity. My goal is quite the opposite. It's admirable in its freshness and the way everything comes magically together in some twisted way. Hence why I believe Dark Souls doesn't give a to the point where it doesn't bother teaching you much about the story. The plot is a mystery wrapped inside a riddle, inside an enigma. It just gives you enough to trudge forward while being screwed over every couple of minutes. The lore is heavily marinated in vagueness and ambiguity. You learn more about it from carefully crafted YouTube videos than from playing the game itself. Each enemy you encounter has the potential to screw you up, no matter your soul level. The health points will help, but ultimately won't offset sloppy play forever. You will have to learn it one way or another, and the HP will just increase the margin of error. My first playthrough spanned years, as it did not click all at once. It was filled with frustration and revelations about myself and the game. I was often outraged because of how callous the game behaved at times. My anger was so profound that I actively googled Dark Souls bad game, like a dumbass, to validate my ire. In retrospect, it was because I had never before been thrown into a virtual world as equally hostile as it is treacherous. But I eventually realized Dark Souls 3 isn't just brutal, as many would parrot over and over. It's just indifferent. From its perspective, you're just another entity wanting to leave a mark on this dying world, and you don't deserve special treatment. It doesn't care how you feel about it. It pretty much says, here you are and here it is. Take it or leave it. But if you'll read between the lines, you will realize it asks you to choose your stance. My perspective about all of this shifted significantly after reading The Subtle Art of Not Giving a F*** by Mark Manson. The book is about maintaining a life free from caring too much about everything. It's because typically we end up caring too little about things taking center stage in our lives. What's interesting about the book is that it doesn't promote a life of indifference or carelessness. It advocates consciously deciding what we should give a fuck about, as it was a commodity worth more than gold. Hence the subtlety of the art in question. Modern society conditions us to believe we should care about everything thrown our way, as if we were some crocodiles in a feeding frenzy. In reality, the more f***s we give to meaningless stuff, the fewer f***s we have to give to things that actually makes us worse off. Don't give a f*** about the job you hate anyway. Give a f*** about your deepest dreams and pursue them with all the f***s you can muster. Don't give a f about hype trains, celebrities. Treat the f you have like your high-level Titanite chunks, because you don't stick them into everything in your inventory for lols, but into what makes sense for your build. And so, the book kinda lifted the veil of mystery surrounding the game's elusive essence, and the revelation of this game's truth bled into real life, as it served as an immersive case in point. In a scenario where one is being screwed over by the run-of-the-mill mobs, the casual knee-jerk reaction would be to grind for superior gear at once, aiming to tank more hits and deal out more damage. The good old "my club is bigger than yours" solution. The game doesn't tell you it's not all about a number attached to some weapon, but rather about an overall approach and not taking death as an insult to your skill. Dark Souls plays tricks on players unable to let go of those mindsets, and I know this from experience. The perfectionists get the short end of the stick. Here, being a perfectionist means being on the wrong side of the line. For example, early farming Titanite is a waste of time, as while it's somewhat scarce in the beginning, it comes by a truckload just hours later, if you don't stall for wanting to have it best and min-max from the get-go. Here, upgrades have their place, but they are not the end-all. They are a remedy to the game escalating, and it escalates to create a sense of progress, or in case you just wanted to skip entire sections. Dark Souls just isn't a game you grind or farm all the way through to advance. Yes, there may come a point where you hit a brick wall, but farming stuff is just one way of dealing with said wall, not the only default way of dealing with each boss that gives us a headache. So there's always a value in having a sharper blade, but only up to a point. The game expects you to make friends with failing and trusting the process, which sometimes can take a long time. Instead of trying to game the system through OP gear early on, you're supposed to just go with it as far as you can. After shifting my perspective, I stopped caring about dying and trying to make it a perfect, deathless playthrough. I understood that dying is as normal as committing a Grand Theft Auto in a GTA game, and that means sometimes you may end up being wasted in the process. This boiled down to adopting a philosophy of a guy with nothing to lose. Imagine you're some hollowed out monster and you keep seeing the same determined ashen one coming back time after time. Just imagine facing an enemy who is willing to give up life over and over to eliminate you, as if nothing happened. With each encounter, they realize they fear nothing, especially not you. And so, as the hero of the story, you send a clear message. You're here to stay, and it's all just a matter of time. By doing so, you fulfill the prophecy of Git Gud.
A prophecy that misread could have been.
Perhaps it's about rising to the challenge of being good enough not to give no more, no less. So years after the purchase, I finally no longer treated Dark Souls as a life or death trial. I detached myself from the game's peculiarities and mind traps, which ultimately led me to conquer it. I achieved this through a strange form of stoicism. I steered clear of the rage-filled approach that leads only to frustration and wasted energy. Smashing your controller or keyboard screams. I give so many facts about this game that I'm willing to destroy physical objects. What's truly needed is a cool head, a sense of distance to the taunt that is the overly lingering death screen, and an indifference to the chaos the game throws at you. So did I die hundreds of times? Quite possibly. Did I miss stuff? That's for the weak to know. Do I care? Not in the slightest. Doesn't matter. Not really. The real victory came when I let go of the need for a flawless run or optimizing every aspect, especially the heroic or the cinematic execution. It was in learning a new perspective, and by doing so, finally enjoying the game. It all happened only because I was able to embrace its hidden yet central demand. Don't give a fuck. And when I reached the final moment of the game and finally saw the credits roll, I experienced something I had never felt in my gaming history. A touching sense of true achievement and pride. Thank you for listening, have a good one, and see you around.